Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime Making 3. And as you can see, I'm back with something new. What if Naruto was half Viltrumite and half Kryptonian? Yes guys, a half Viltrumite and Kryptonian baby. An incredible force of nature itself. In the elemental nations. But not just that, the entire universe. So sit back, place your foot up and relax because it's gonna be awesome. And as you can see guys, I'm not going to be continuing Immortal Asusuke, but trust me, every what if that I'm doing right now, all of them will get finished. That is not a if or but or a question, it's a statement. All of them will get finished guys. Yes, they're all going to end. There isn't going to be any more cuts. I'm going to go right through and give them all to you guys, so there's nothing to worry about. So right now, just place your foot up and relax and enjoy this new series. So without further ado, let's begin now guys. Chaos, destruction. Those were the words that could be used for this night. It was a truly terrible night. Chaos had struck the Hidden Leaf, the mightiest nation out of all. A beast that was represented as a literal force of nature itself had been set free on the village. It was chaotic. As the beast tried to bring the village down to its knees, it tried to destroy it. However, powerful people rise up, as they would not allow that to happen. They would not allow the destruction of Konoha. As the beast was pushed out of the Hidden Leaf and pushed far away, he arrived, their hero. His name was Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage of the Hidden Leaf. Tonight was a terrible and wonderful night for him. His child was just born. And at the same time, he had to do something that he didn't want to. And that would take his very life. He cursed, hoping that he could at least save his wife so she would be able to raise their child. As Minato teleported the beast out of the village, away, a far distance, the people breathed a sigh of relief. But it was not over yet. Hiruzen Sarutobi, third Hokage of Konoha, had a sinking feeling. He knew exactly what was going to happen, and he had to stop it. He had to stop it, he thought to himself, as he moved as quickly as he could, making his way. He leaped from rooftop to rooftop until he was on the grass, as he ran with all of his might. When he arrived, he noticed that he could not go further. A barrier had been erected, stopping him from getting in close. He pounded his fist on the barrier. "Minato," he screamed out. "Don't do it!" he yelled. "The village needs you. Let me. I'll be the one to do it," Hiruzen yelled out. Being the professor, Hiruzen Sarutobi knew of many things, including the Death Reaper seal that would take one's life, a sacrifice to the Shinigami. As he looked towards Minato, who was focused on his task, the nine-tailed fox was being held down by the weakened Kushina Uzumaki. Hiruzen wanted to be the one to risk his life. He has served his time. He has fought, he has bled for this village. And his last act was to give his life to make sure the village would be safe. Minato was young, a prosperous leader that was needed. He wanted to be the one to risk his life as he pounded on the barrier. The Anvus who were arriving behind him saw the giant barrier as the third could not enter. On the inside, Kushina was on the verge of tears as Minato told her his plan. She knew what it meant to be a Jinchuriki, and especially after this night, everything would be hard on their child, incredibly so. There was a lot of death, a lot of destruction. If the news was to leak about their child having a tail beast, she was afraid for their child growing up alone, with whispers and glares. She could not stand the thought of that. She didn't want to do that. She begged him to seal it back in her so she could take it to the grave. However, he told her that it would disrupt the balance. And he had faith in their child to tame this power and make it her own. However, Kushina was not happy. She was not happy about this. But in the state that she was in, she could not do anything to stop it. As she looked towards her baby girl that was currently residing in a crib, she named her after her mentor, who gave her the tools that she needed to make sure the fox was safely locked away. Her name was Mito Uzumaki. There was a scruff of red hair on top of her head. As the child was crying, "It's okay, baby," she said. "Mommy's here with you now." Tears in her eyes running down her cheeks. She could feel herself losing strength. After having the 9 tails ripped out of her by that masked man, she had grown weaker, extremely so. It was only because of her Uzumaki lineage why she was still here. If she was not a Uzumaki, she would have been dead by now. Only a miracle could save her now. As she said that, there was a light that caused her to look up. Minato glanced up as well, as even the fox, who had been in the state of mind to realize what was going on, glanced up. Harrison Sartobi, who stopped pounding on the barrier, noticed something falling. Something large. And it happened. Boom! An explosion went off. A violent one. Things and everything were thrown all around. Minato cried out in pain. He had thrown himself in front of his child and his wife. His back was littered with cuts and tears, as all sorts of objects had tear right into his flesh. Nothing to end his life, but enough to cause him tremendous pain all over. But he kept them safe as he looked down towards them. As Kushina had her eyes closed, smoke and dust were all over the area. Kushina leaned over the basket for extra protection to make sure that nothing would touch her baby girl. As Minato was about to turn, something grabbed him and pinned him down to the ground. He was confused, as what held him down was Enma, he said, looking at Hiruzen's monkey summon. "What are you doing?" "I'm sorry. It's his final wish. Let him be the one to do this, and not you." He heard Kushina shout it out, as he turned his head to see Hiruzen grab the baby. "Hiruzen," he shouted, but the old man simply smiled at him. Kushina's eyes went wide as he realized, due to the explosion, her chains had loosened. So why wasn't the fox going on a rampage? She could not see clearly, but something was on top of the fox's head. Something had knocked its head into the ground, as it was slowly regaining understanding of its situation. But it was too late. Hiruzen had been there. He had been friends with the first Hokage wife, who was Mito Uzumaki, and she had told him how the seal worked. She was a true Uzumaki, a sealing master if there was ever one to be. And he was rather shocked by the complexity of it. However, her seal was a long process and it would take a long time to be done. However, Mito was born with special chakra, just like Kushina. He looked down towards the baby girl in the crib, and he knew that she would be something special. He glanced over his shoulder as he looked towards Kushina, knowing that there was a high possibility of her dying unless he did something about it. So in that moment, he moved fast and quick. Minato, who flashed away from Enma, reappearing a distance away, rushed forward to see what happened. He saw the fox shrinking and shrinking until its body disappeared completely. He could not see what happened because only the summoner could see the Reaper. As Minato ran when he heard his baby girl crying, she was crying out until she just suddenly stopped. He rushed forward as quickly as he could as he burst right through the smoke, only to see Hiruzen on the ground. His eyes opened, but there was no life in them. That is when he noticed his baby girl. But she was not alone. There was a boy. Minato was so confused, not quite understanding what happened. That is when he noticed something strange. A strange metal construction. The top was open. There was a boy, dressed in all white, with a strange symbol on his chest. He seemed to be very young, extremely, but he was rather big for his age. As he was looking down into the basket, the small child was looking at him. His daughter was smiling. He heard another scream, a scream that came from Kushina. Minato had no time. He grabbed both of the children as he rushed towards Kushina to see what was going on. As he saw her on the ground, something being funneled into her seal. It seems like chakra. Small whips of chakra being funneled into her seal. He had no idea what just happened. He rushed towards her as the chakra was trying to leave because her seal had been damaged. Quickly shouting to one of the envoys, Minato hand over the boy and his daughter for safekeeping as he rushed through Hansan as fast as possible, adding a seal to keep the chakra intact. This was nothing compared to the fox power. This was merely a residue of the fox chakra. His eyes widened as he realized what Hiruzen did. This could be her chance to survive this night. He had to get her to a hospital though, as quickly as possible, as he barked out his orders for two envoys to remain behind and keep an eye on that thing, whatever it was. The envoys were shocked when they saw this strange metal contraption. Time skip. Minato was waiting. Every second seemed like it took longer and longer and longer as he was waiting to hear the news. In his arms was his baby girl. The doctors had tended to his back and patched him up rather well. Its little girl was sleeping peacefully in his arm, and beside him, curled up next to him, was the boy. The strange boy that appeared out of that strange machine. He was not sure what it was. The body of Hiruzen had been taken and placed somewhere safe for the time being. As Minato waited as he looked toward the strange boy, there was a symbol on the white clothing that he was wearing. It seemed to be a S. The boy had blonde hair. However, it was much more curly than his. There was no spike. It was curly and flat on his head. Despite his size, he seemed to be around 2 years old, as he could not really talk. He wasn't that big, but he was just big for his age. Minato was not sure. He still had no idea where this boy came from. And what was that thing? As he had gave orders for the envoys to move it to a secure location, so they could test it later to find out what it was. The boy had stuck to him though, and Minato did not mind. But his mind was on other things. The doctor came out as he got to his feet looking towards the man. She's stable. The chakra inside of her is slowly healing her system. But I can't give you a date on when she's gonna wake up. I'm not sure how long it will take for her body to be fully restored. It was put under a lot of stress, and it just needs time. And I'm not quite sure if there's any other damage. We cannot know until she wakes up, so all we have to do is wait. This was not good news. Yes, it did sound like good news, but they did not know if there was anything else wrong with her. Because of the state that she was in, they could not push her at all. Her body was too weak and tender. Minato released a heavy breath, praying to whatever deity out there that she would be alright. He needed her, especially in this time. He could not lose Kushina. As he looked down towards his baby girl, he wanted his daughter to grow up with a mother. He lost his parents at a very young age, and he did not want anything like that for his child, he thought to himself. As he wiped his hand down his face, tonight was just so stressful. Hearing a noise, he turned as he saw the boy moving in his sleep. Him, on the other hand, he was not even quite sure who he was or where he came from. That thing, whatever it was, he's never seen something like that before, ever. Time skip. Slowly, she started to regain consciousness, very slowly, as she started to hear, and her eyes were blurry at first, but she started to see. Her body felt heavy, extremely heavy, like it was being weighed down by boulders. Kushina was not sure what was going on, but she was alive. She thought to herself. Her mind then ran on what happened. Oh no! She got up and collapsed on the ground. Her legs, unable to fully hold her weight. Her body was just so weak, everything was. The door flew open as a nurse rushed inside. Lady Kushna, she said. Where is she? Is she okay? Kushna asked, talking about her baby girl. Everything's alright. You're in the hospital. Please, calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Where is my daughter? She said. And where is Minato? She asked. A look of panic and fright on her face. As I said, everything is fine. You just need to calm down. You cannot push yourself, especially in this state. Kushina winced in pain as the woman walked over and helped her up. Kushina had no choice but to get back on the bed. I will be right back, lady said as she rushed outside, leaving Kushina in a state of worry. Despite what the woman said, the last thing she saw was chaos, and she was not sure what happened after that. She felt pain. A red chakra had been moving towards her stomach. It was not the fox, but just some of his chakra. She was not sure what the hell happened. The next thing she knew, it was blinding pain. She passed out, and she woke up here. She thought that she was going to die. She thought that was it, and she would never raise her baby girl. But she was wrong. It barely took any time as Minato rushed inside the room. He had his little girl snugged away in his arms, holding her with extra precaution. Kushina, he said, tears of joy in his eyes. Minato, as she looked down, tears started to run down her cheeks. Tears of joy as well. She was happy. Her little girl was okay. She was so happy. Minato was here with her as well. She knew what he wanted to do, and she would have lost him, and she thought that she would have been gone as well. But no, her family was here. He came over as he hugged her tightly, the hug expressing his joy through it, into her as well. As he held their daughter, before handing little Mito over towards her, she held on to her. She wiped her tears. She tried to, but there was just so much of them. As she looked down towards the baby who started to wake up, the small child started to stretch her little arms. Mommy's okay. Mommy's here now, she said. And Mommy's not gonna leave. Minato smiled where he stood. It has been a few weeks. A few long, extremely long weeks. A few weeks of conflicting emotions. Spending time with his baby girl. And worrying about his wife. And also, the newcomer as well. Kushina felt something as she turned to see someone crawling up on the bed on the other side. Naruto, said Minato. Kushina blinked. Naruto? That was the name that they were going to name their son if they had one. Minato, who is this? She said, as a baby boy crawled on the bed. He smiled towards Kushina as she looked at him. He then looked down towards the child in her arms. The baby saw him and started to smile and giggle. Minato scratched the back of his head. Well, it's a very long story, he said. Time skip. Wait, so you're telling me that explosion was him? He fell from the sky in some sort of mechanical device. And you decided to call him Naruto because you didn't know what to call him, so you gave him that name. Yeah, pretty much. I guess it's not that long when you look at it that way. Kushina looked down as the boy was resting his head on her shoulder, sleeping in the bed with her. So you have no idea where he came from, or what was the thing that he came in? Minato shook his head. Well, this is strange, she said. I've never heard of anything like that before. As the two children were sleeping. How old is he? Well, he can't properly talk. I would say around 2 years old. Are you crazy? Look how big he is. I would say around 3 or 4. Well, that might seem to be the case, but I had the doctors test him. Minato paused and said, Kushina, well, he's completely healthy. Like, excellent. However, there are a few things that they found odd. His DNA, his body makeup, it's different. What do you mean different? They're still running tests. Yes, that's how confusing it is. They still have no idea exactly what is he. And what do you mean by that, said Kushner, as he raised his hand. In defense, even in her weakened state, his wife was still the fearsome person that he knew. Oh, it's not like that, he said. I just mean, well, I'm not sure which word to use. Special, said Kushner. He's a special little boy. Naruto, huh? She said with a smile, looking down towards him. Time skip. Jiraiya was standing at the doorway. There was a large crib. Inside of said crib was Mito, and Naruto as well, the both of them asleep. Jiraiya closed the door as he made his way. Minato was in the kitchen as he poured some tea for the men. They sat down at the kitchen table. Even till now I still can't believe it, said Jiraiya. I mean, kids don't just drop from the sky. You're telling me, said Minato. And that thing that he came in, it's some kind of ship. Again with this, said Jiraiya as he laughed. The moment Jiraiya heard what had happened in the leaf, he had arrived. He had been here to console Minato and told him that everything would be fine. So you're still on with this, huh? That the kid is an alien. But all the evidence are there, Sensei. I mean, he fell from the sky. He's really big for his age. He can't even talk yet, but he's fully aware of everything. He understands what is going on around him, even though he can't express it through words. It's almost like he's more advanced than normal human babies. Because he's a normal child. Do you really think he's an alien? So are you telling me that other aliens are out there in space? How should we know that? Have we ever been to space before? Said Minato. Well, I'll give you that, but still, this is a far-fetched, don't you think? I'm not ruling it out until I find out more. I have the analysis department working on that thing to see if they can get any information from it, to find out what the hell is going on. Well, do that as you much, but know this. That child is now a part of your family, as your own daughter. Kushina is not gonna give him up. I have already seen that, said Minato. But it's not such a bad idea for Mito to have a big brother, and not to mention, I like him, said Minato with a smile. And who else is better to take care of him? Yeah, you're right. You are the village leader, so you have to make sure that everything is alright with your new little alien, said Jiraiya with a chuckle. You keep on making jokes. When the day comes, you will understand, as Jiraiya simply chuckled before he calmed down. There was still some sadness after all. He lost his sensei. So, how's the seal, he said. I checked over it and it seemed to be holding up just well. It seems like Mito took more after her mother with her natural red hair and the Uzumaki genes. Here isn't seal the whole beast inside of her. The seal is strong enough, and not to mention her physiology and her Uzumaki makeup, because of her large chakra stores, even as a child, are growing. They will be expanded enough so they can uphold the stretch that the fox is going to bring in the future. I knew that Hiruzen was studying the seal, but I never knew that he had reached this level. I thought I was the only one that could have done it, but he did it perfectly. Not to mention, he sucked up all the residue chakra and sealed it inside of Kushina. It's the only reason why she's alive right now. She will still be weak for a long while, and I don't think that she will ever regain her full strength. But she's here, and she's happy, and I'm glad, he said, with a smile on his face. Jiraiya nodded as he smiled back, until he got serious this time. And that threat, he said, he's long gone. But I did mark him with my Hiruzen seal. If he's ever in the proximity, I should be able to pick up on him. Because of all of this, you have not yet briefed everything that has happened. Throughout all of this, you have still kept the peace maintained, but we still need to discuss with the Uchihas and their place because of what just happened. Yes, I know, said Minato, as he looked rather worried. I clearly saw his eyes. But your theory, I just can't see how he can be Madara Uchiha, said Jiraiya. There is only one man that could have done what he did, placing Ninetales under complete submission with just his eyes alone, that require advanced level of the Sharingan. The Mangekyo, said Jiraiya. Exactly. There are not many nowadays with that. Once I bring this up, you know that many more hate are gonna be on the Uchihas. That is not something I wish for. I will speak to Fukaku about this privately, without the elders or his clan elders, and try to understand what the hell happened. I don't want this leading to something that may cause chaos in the village. I understand that, but you should still keep a watch on the Uchihas just in case. I'm not saying that they are a threat right now, but even if this ninja is a rogue ninja, there's no telling if he is mixed up or allied with any of the Uchihas that we have in the village. We can't afford to chance that, with what recently just happened. If we get hit one more time, the other nations would think us as weak and try to attack us from the outside. I know what you mean, especially since it's so soon after the war. As both men nodded to one another. Time skip. A few years later, Minato Namikaze was in his Jonin vest. He was without his cloak. There were 10 Hiraishin kunais around the field. His eyes were set on the boy in front of him. Alright, ready, said Minato as he flashed away to the furthest one. However, the child was in front of him. He flashed to another one as the child turned and moved towards him again. As he reached out, but Minato was gone. The child slammed his feet into the ground, causing it to crack as he turned around and pushed off. The ground cracking even more as he reached out to grab him, but Minato flashed away again. But this time the child placed his hands on the ground and pushed himself back. As he swung a kick towards Minato's head, but Minato vanished once again. You're gonna have to be a lot faster than that, Naruto, said Minato with a smile. The child, now identified as Naruto, stood there until an idea popped in his head. He then bent his knees as he jumped. Upon doing that, Minato watched him as he came down and drive his fist into the earth. It sent out a small shockwave that blew away all the kunais. He then rushed towards Minato, who flashed away. The child then turned mid-air and flashed forward with speeds that no child of his age should be going at. As he picked up the kunais, he went after Minato once again and kept on picking them up as he went after him once again. Minato smiled as he saw his quick thinking. His job was to touch him at all costs after all. He never put any limitations on how he could do it. As Naruto landed with a smirk, all 10 three-palm kunais in his hand. As Minato smirked towards him, Naruto then pushed off and swung. However, Minato jumped back as he kept on pushing himself back and back as Naruto punched and kicked, but Minato dodged all of them. Naruto swung his fist as Minato turned his head, the fist almost grazing him. He then swept Naruto's leg away as Naruto collapsed on his back. Minato stood over him, a cheeky smile on his face. Good job, he said, and with a quick thinking as well. After all, I did not give you a limitation on what you could do to catch me. Nice thinking out of the box, son. But I still didn't catch you, Dad, said Naruto. Minato offered him a hand. Well, you're still young, he said, and you're still growing. And you're getting stronger each and every day. As Naruto smiled as Minato helped him up. Now why don't you go and get washed up? Mom says that she's cooking her special ramen tonight. Naruto's eyes widened. Really? Minato nodded. Awesome, Naruto screamed as he rushed inside, insanely fast. Minato chuckled as he watched Naruto go. It has been 4 years. Naruto was supposed to be 6 because Minato thought when he first came here he was 2 years old. However, if you looked at him now, he looked like he was a 9-year-old child, going on to 10. Yes, he was big for his age, and the side of his hair was now black. The top was still gold, but the side was now black. And one more thing about him, Naruto possessed no chakra. He could not generate it, he could not use it at all. Now that was a shocker. However, his strength was incredible. Even for a child, he was extremely strong, and fast as well. Normally, no child would have ever come that close to Minato in terms of speed, unless he wanted them to. However, despite Minato still holding back and not going at full speed, Naruto was still able to show impressive feat for his age. They told everyone that he was 8 years old, and his birthday was October 10th. That was the day that he arrived. They were not quite sure what his age was, but given his growth, it seems rather fitting that he was that age. He had tests run on Naruto. It turns out that his body was getting stronger by the day. The doctors were shocked when they saw his growth. They had no idea if there was any limit to how much strength he gains, as Naruto was just getting stronger and stronger. Minato was right, and he knew that Naruto was an alien. However, he adopted him like his own very son, and he was a part of his family. They wanted him to socialize with other children. So last year they placed him in the academy, and he was doing well. Minato had to tell Naruto to hold back when it comes to fighting children, because he might end up accidentally hurting them too bad. His strength was great, far greater than any of the children in the academy. There was no telling how far he would reach in the upcoming years. They had not told him about his heritage. Except for his dark eyes. He had blonde hair just like Minato. The black hair was something different, but still. He was a child, so he listened to them, as Kushina told him that he was a very special boy and to not to worry about it. However, soon enough he will get curious and want to understand what exactly was he, as there was no other reported case of anyone in the village having such odd strength for their age and cannot generate chakra in the slightest. Minato had to talk to the teachers at the academy to let them know about Naruto's special case. In terms of using the clone jutsu and also using the substitution jutsu and the transformation jutsu, he could not do any of those. But they wanted him to make friends. They want him to have a normal childhood, to not be seen as some sort of oddity amongst everyone. But things were good, because Naruto made a lot of friends, and that made Minato happy. But he could not stay in the academy for too long. Other than teaching Naruto lessons on history, there was nothing that the academy could teach Naruto, because he did not use chakra. And in terms of fighting, Minato had that under control of teaching Naruto that, as Naruto wanted to be a ninja just like them, so soon he will have to enter the outside world. Minato was not sure how strong Naruto will get, but he knew that soon enough his name will be spoken by every single Kages around the world once news about him spread. But Minato will simply do his best to make sure that everything go as well as possible. He also had his daughter to worry about as well. The nine-tailed seal was still under check. Just like her mother, she could contain the beast very well, and he was here just in case anything happened. But his main goal is to keep his family and this village safe, and he will do so. Nothing would stop him from doing that. Time skip. A squeal of joy could be heard as Naruto leaped over a small canyon in the forest. He landed on the other side. Again! Someone shouted on his back. Holding on to him with all of her might was none other than Mito herself. She was currently 4 years old. She had grown quite a lot, now being able to fully talk. Her and her big brother always go out to explore, and they always head to the forest area, and they were coming out here to visit their little friends. Naruto had a backpack on, as it was on the front, as Mito was holding on to him. Naruto ran once again as she squealed in the lights. So fast, she said to herself, as the wind was brushing past her, blowing her hair back. Naruto smiled to himself as his little sister held on to him. She thought the world of him, and he thought the world of her. He cared very deeply about his family, and always wanted to see them safe. That is why he wanted to become a ninja, so that he could protect them, just like his father protected the village. As he jumped over another small steep and landed on the other side, he knew that he was different. For one thing, he did not possess chakra. However, he was fast and he was strong. And sometimes, when he jumped, he felt like he could almost fly, like the birds that he saw in the forest. But he landed. As they arrived toward a small little cave, as Naruto took her off his back and placed her down. That was so amazing, she said as she threw both her fists in the air, making Naruto smile at her. He took the bag off. As Mito started to laugh. What's so funny, said Naruto. You peed yourself, she said, as she pointed towards him. As Naruto looked down. What? No, it's from the bag, said Naruto, as he lifted the bag up to show that it was dripping. He placed his hand to his mouth and cuffed it. Hey guys, we're back, he said. Slowly, something started to emerge. It emerged to show that it was a white wolf. As the wolf rushed over towards them and increased its speed and leap, it crashed right into Naruto and tackled him to the ground before it started to lick him on the face. Stop it, said Naruto as he tried to get it off, a smile on his face. They met the wolf some months ago. It was hungry, and it seemed to have gotten into a fight with another wild animal. In the forest, it got injured. At first, it did not trust them. In fact, it tried to attack them. But Naruto had stopped it and showed it that they were not here to harm it. By giving it some of their food, ever since then they came back. They one day came back to a surprise. And now those surprises were jumping all over Mito as she giggled and smiled. As Naruto took the meat out of the bag that was still dripping and tossed it in the air, the wolf jumped and bit into it. As it started to tear it apart, as Mito took the smaller ones and started to shear it out to the small pups, the two of them were very deep within the forest, and the smell of the meat attracted unwanted visitors. A roar could be heard. The both of them turned. Big brother, said Mito, as there was a giant bear walking over towards them. The wolf growled and stepped forward, angrily. Naruto held out his hand, stopping the wolf. Don't worry, I'll handle this, he said. As he stepped forward, the bear slammed its paw down into the ground and looked at Naruto ferociously before it leaped forward, intending on attacking him. It swiped at him, but just like his father taught him, Naruto leaned to the left, dodging the attack. It then tried to bite. However, Naruto already stepped back. He clenched his fist before driving it under the bear's chin, knocking its head up. He then punched it across the face as he punched it again before another, blasting the bear away. It whimpered in pain as it looked towards him and Mito and the wolf before it ran away. As Naruto felt someone hugging him as he looked down to see that it was Mito. You're so strong, she said. Would I get that strong? I'm not sure, said Naruto. But you might, he said, patting her on the head with a smile. Yeah, I want to be as strong as Big Brother, she said as she clenched her fists, as she punched left and right, making Naruto chuckle. As they returned back to feeding the wolf and the little pups. Time skip. Naruto and his sister and his mother was there. His father was currently speaking with Hayashi Hyuga, the clan head. They were at Hinata Hyuga's birthday party. His sister and Hinata became quick friends. The girl was extremely shy, as his sister was talking to her, along with several of the other clan heads. Naruto bent his knees before he jumped, as he landed on a roof. You know, sticking to the shadows always might make you seem a bit weird. The person chuckled. It was a soft, calm chuckle as he turned to look towards Naruto. How are you, Naruto? He asked. As Naruto looked toward his friend, Itachi Uchiha, he met him when his mom and him came over. His mom and his mom were good friends. He also had a little brother named Sasuke Uchiha, who was currently down there at the moment. Hayashi had invited all the clan heads over. There was a lot of people here. Naruto knew majority of them. Itachi was one of his friends though. Itachi was a calm, collected person. Much more calm than anyone else that he met so far. Well, taking out the adults, that is. Despite only being a bit older than him, Itachi was different. It was almost like there was this weight on his shoulders that Naruto could never yet see. So, why aren't you down there, Naruto asked. You already know that I'm not much of a people person. Well, you can be, said Naruto. Just talk to people, and you'll become a people person. I'm afraid it's not that simple, Itachi said. You on the other hand, you're different. You don't mind butting into certain conversations, or quickly making friends with people. Neither do you, said Naruto. Well, that is because I take interest in certain people. And I took interest in you, he said. You took interest in me, said Naruto. Yes. You're a very special person. Even before you told me about yourself, I knew that you were special. Really? Said Naruto as he sat on the roof, overlooking the party down below. Itachi and him had become close friends, so much so that Naruto had told him about his extraordinary strength and his speed as well. Itachi knew that Naruto could not mold chakra. They sparred, and Itachi was rather shocked, not expecting Naruto to be this powerful at all. It actually caught him off guard. To this day he could not explain what exactly Naruto was. Neither could Naruto either. His mom just said that he was special, but he knew there was something that they were not telling him. But he figured they would tell him when the time was right. After all, he was in no rush. He had his family here, and everything was alright. So he was not really in any big rush to dive into things that they wanted to keep hidden for the moment. As Naruto glanced up towards the heavens, is something bad going to happen, he asked. Itachi blinked as he looked towards him. Why did you ask that, he said. I've noticed things. It's not just my strength or speed, I can hear things that normal people can't. Really, Itachi said, as he sat down on the edge looking towards Naruto. Yeah, I can hear what the elders down there are saying to each other. Even from up here, Itachi asked, as Naruto nodded his head. Truly remarkable. I thought only people with access chakra could do something like this. But once again you surprised me, Itachi said. Yeah, said Naruto. You don't seem happy about that. Well, I heard people around the village talking about the Uchihas. They talk about them like they're doing something bad or something. Itachi sighed as he glanced up towards the heavens. It's not that they're doing something bad, things are just heated right now. But it don't seem to be getting any better, said Naruto. When they're not talking about my sister, they speak about the Uchihas. As Naruto knew about that, of course. His sister had the nine-tailed fox sealed inside of her. Many people knew except for the younger generation. It was a sensitive issue that many people did not openly talk about. In the confines of their homes they did, but they kept it away from the younger generation. It was respect towards the Hokage and his family. Well, especially towards Mito to be exact, so that she could make friends, and people would not see her as some kind of monster. But of course Naruto knew that she wasn't any monster. The fox was sealed inside of her. His mother had told him all about Fuinjutsu. He felt a hand on his shoulder as he turned to see Itachi, looking towards him. You don't have to stress yourself out. You're just a kid. Everything's gonna be fine. You say that, and yet I see the look in your eyes. I can tell. Something big is gonna happen, isn't it? Itachi was quiet for a long while. Even if something big does happen, I assure you everything will be fine, he said. Alright, said Naruto. I trust you. So I'm gonna hold you to that, okay? Yeah, sure, Itachi said. Now why don't you go and enjoy the party? Alright, fine. Well, I'll see you soon, Dark Knight, said Naruto, as he jumped off the roof. Itachi chuckled at the name. Naruto called him Dark Knight because he was always in the shadows. The night part he did not understand, but it was a fun nickname, and he liked it. However, Naruto was right. Things were getting worse. Soon, Itachi was gonna have to play as a double agent. It seems like it does not matter how much a Hokage tried to solve the issue. Anger, rage, resentment would always be there. And it seems like nothing could actually stop that. Time skip. Since the birth of Mito, people have been trying to enter the Land of Fire to assassinate her. Those that still held hate and resentment for Minato for what he did. To the Hidden Stone, there were several individuals that wanted Minato to pay. They want to see him suffer like they suffer. The Tishikage was the one to come to the agreement to stop the battle between Konoha and the Hidden Stone after Minato had slaughtered 1,000 ninjas. He sent the 1,000 ninjas and all of them were killed in a couple of minutes. That put the fear of Kami into all of the advisors that he had, showing them that they stood no chance, especially with a man like that on the field. However, many did not forget and did not forgive. They wanted the complete downfall of Minato. They wanted him to suffer like they suffer. They wanted to take everything away from him. Despite the Tishikage hating Minato guts with everything that he had, he didn't want another war that would end in him losing many people. He already lost his daughter in the previous war, and he didn't want another war to spark chaos. So he tried to keep the peace. However, certain things were out of his hand. Certain elders with certain power had gained connection with people of the Leaf that hated Minato as well. Now you might ask, who in the Leaf hated Minato? It could be some of the people that lost their loved ones during the Kyuubi attack, and also saw Minato as someone to hate because of his daughter. But no, it was nothing like that. Yes, despite how it might seem, many people in the village were still upset. And most times Naruto heard whispers and talks about Mito. Many of them had trusted in his father about the seal to keep them safe, but many of them still held resentment. But they did not openly show it, afraid of the repercussions that might happen. However, there was a man in the shadows. Since Minato had been fully indoctrinated in the office, since Hiruzen Sarutobi had risked his life for this village, he could not play games anymore. Because Minato was not like Hiruzen, and they were not friends. Minato would never let him get away with certain things that Hiruzen let him get away with. This man was Danzo Shimura, an enemy in disguise. Well, an enemy to Minato, because he wanted a seat. However, he could not physically attack Minato. That would lead to his death. He was trying to start something with the Uchihas to cause problem. All he wanted was Minato preoccupied. The death of his children could be a good motive for that. It didn't matter what he had to do. It didn't matter how he would get it, but Danzo Shimura promised to himself that he will get that seat. He will be Hokage. Since Minato gained the power, he had been stripped of a lot of his power. Minato had banned the civilian council. There was a civilian council that had much power in the village in the third Hokage reign. Hiruzen wanted the people to have a voice. However, they took it a bit too far. Even some of them funding and sending money towards different things that benefit them. And Hiruzen had been getting up in the ages to not focus on those things. But Minato, being a much younger man and understanding and had the time to do it, saw their actions and quickly stripped them of their power. Danzo felt like there was a leash around his neck and he could not do anything about it, and that made him upset. That made him angry. That is why he had his ninjas watching, and he come to notice that the Namikaze children love to sneak out, and they head to the forest, a place where no one else would be. His envoys had reported that they were feeding some kind of animal there, and this was a perfect opportunity that was needed for him to break Minato, and no one would ever know. To get them in the village, his envoys would play a big part in that. At the moment, 4 ninjas, there was no headbands, no affiliation to any village. They were currently making their way as fast as they could to get to where they need to be. Arriving at a location, it seemed to be a normal spot in the forest, until someone arrived. A man dressed in a blank mask. He tossed a kunai down. On the tip of the kunai was a tag. The ninja in the front, which seemed to be the leader, looked up at him. There was a few words on the tag. The one at the front spoke up. Code 4426, he said. That was a code. As the ninja with the mask spoke up, Code 552, he said. The ninja with the mask pulled out a scroll and tossed it. The leader caught it as he opened it. It was kind of a map. What they would need. The man over his shoulder looked over at it. They nodded. He tossed it to his partner behind him, who burned it, as they had placed it in their memory. The ninja on the branch with the mask then vanished away. Alright boys, let's go. With that, the four of them made their way off, using the information that they got, along with the route envoys, using every possible way to allow them to sneak in without being occupied. They were making their way. Meanwhile, both Naruto and Mito were sitting on the ground. As they watch, the tiny pups tear apart little meat. They're getting really big, said Mito. Yeah, pups grow really fast, said Naruto, as he looked down towards them. As he saw the mother, she was just sitting there. She had already eaten as she watched her pups. You know, she's much like our mom, always making sure that we eat and that we're okay. Yeah, mom is really protective, said Naruto. His mother can be a bit too overprotective, but she was his mom, what could he say? It's getting late, I think we should head back, said Naruto. Yeah, as she picked herself up and picked up the bag, as she zipped it up. As Naruto went down to one knee, for her to crawl on his back. She was about to do so until he heard something. Naruto turned and grabbed her and leaped away. As his eyes turned back toward the scene, several kunais landed where he once was. He then felt something as he was kicked in the stomach. He was thrown back as he landed on the ground. He heard a scream as he picked himself up in record time. Mito, he screamed, "Stay where you are." As Naruto's eyes widened, he glanced upward to see 3 people on a branch, one holding on to Mito, as she tried to get away from the man. "Stay still, you brat," he said as he grabbed her by the back of the neck. Naruto stepped forward. "I said, stay where you are," the man said, as he looked at Naruto. "Make another sound, move, and she dies." Naruto froze up. He's never been placed in a situation like this before. He was afraid, scared. He looked toward his sister that was being held. I'm sorry," he said. I won't move. Just don't hurt her," he said. Of course they wanted to kill Naruto and Mito. However, they wanted Minato to suffer. So they were gonna take them and mail pieces of them back to the village, so Minato could suffer even more. However, they would never leave this village with that girl. The moment they reached too far, they would be attacked. Danzo wanted nothing linking him back to this. That is why he didn't have his own route, assassinate the 2 kids. He wanted nothing coming back to him. However, he would never allow the 9-tails Jinchuriki to be killed like that. The tail beast will be his. So the moment they were out of the village parameters, root ninjas were already waiting for them. They were going to be attacked and the girl will be taken. They could take the boy. Danzo did not care much for him. He did not seem that special after all. But the girl would not be going to the Hidden Stone. She would be going to a facility that is outside of Konoha, a place that Minato would never find her. After all, he was dealing with someone else as well, a very slippery, dangerous man, and the both of them had a common enemy, Minato. That slippery man was going to make sure that these Hidden Stone ninjas never make it back to their home alive. Yes, they were going to be killed, and the evidence was going to be left behind with the body of Naruto, so that when Minato finds it, he will see that something happened that was outside of the leaf, and dealings with either Danzo or his other enemy out there, so nothing could be traced back to them. They have been planning this for months, and nothing will stop them from getting what they desired. As Naruto stood there, petrified, as the 3 ninjas above, the boss nodded to one of them. He jumped down as he had ninja wires. "So just stay right where you are, and do not make a sound." As Naruto watched the guy was about to bound his hands, he grabbed Naruto's hand roughly and started to tie them. "No, big brother!" Mito screamed as she bit down on the guy's arm. forcing him to release her. She stomped on his leg and ran off. However, the guy was faster. He backhanded her. He was angry and pissed off. Naruto watches Mito bounce off the ground and roll. His eyes snapped in rage. The wire popped as Naruto broke free. He then turned and slammed a vicious punch in the guy's gut, throwing him back. "How dare you," he said. One of the other guys jumped from his perch as he came down to slam a fist over Naruto's head. However, Naruto moved in time and grabbed the guy's arm and yanked him down and slammed his knee right into the guy's skull. He was knocked away. The third one flashed through hand sign. He slammed his hand into the ground as two arms made from earth rose up and grabbed Naruto and wrapped around him, giving the boss enough time to grab Mito. As he pulled out a kunai. "You're a feisty little brat, aren't you?" he said. He held Mito as he glared towards Naruto. As Naruto struggled against the mines as he tried to break free, that is when he heard Mito scream. He saw blood. The guy had dragged the kunai across her cheek to prove his point. And Naruto lost it. His eyes turned red with rage. Suddenly, heat exploded from his eyes and shot forward and slammed into the guy's shoulder, bursting right through it, forcing him to drop Mito as she scampered away from him, holding on to her bloody cheek. The guy that was holding Naruto started to struggle, sweat running down his forehead. What the hell? Naruto exploded out of his bounds. As he got free, he flew at impressive speed. It was almost like he was not even touching the ground. He grabbed Mito and moved off. As he arrived a far distance in the forest with her. "Big brother, are you okay?" "I'm fine. Listen to me. Run. Run back and find anyone you can and tell them what's going on." "Not without you, Mito," he said. "Just do it. I'll stop them." She started to panic as she didn't want to leave him. "Mito." "Alright, fine. Be careful," she said, tears in her eyes as she ran as fast as she could to find anyone that she could find and get them back here to help her brother. As Naruto turned, the four men arrived. "Quick, we can't let her escape," the boss said as two of them shot off. Naruto turned to go after them, but a brutal kick snapped his head to the right. The boss grabbed him by the face and slammed his head into the ground. "You little shit. That really hurt," he said as he could not even use his right arm at the moment. "If you had just come without causing a commotion, you wouldn't have to suffer yet. But now," the boss raised his left fist as he drove it in Naruto's face. "I'm gonna kill her and let you watch." Those words caused Naruto's mind to snap. He lost it. These monsters wanted to hurt his sister. She's never hurt any of them, and they wanted to hurt her. The boss fist slammed in Naruto's face once again. The kid was barely bleeding even after those punches. Just what the hell is this brat? Naruto lashed out, surprising the man as he slammed his head right into the man's guts. The man staggered back as he coughed up blood. What the hell? Naruto bent his knees as the ground cracked. The other one tried to grab him, but Naruto took off. The two men had caught up to Mito. However, one of them was cut off as Naruto dropped into his back, both of his fists crushing into the man's skull. "Leave her alone," said Naruto as he punched one after another, driving his fist down in the man's head until blood and brain matter started to show. Naruto was not done as he turned his gaze toward the other one, who rushed through hand sign. "Earth style," he said, as he drove his hand in the ground. Earth spikes started to rise up, however Naruto jumped before he pushed himself off in mid-air, despite there being nothing there. The guy tried to jump away as Naruto's eyes turned red once again. Suddenly, beams shot from his eyes and tear through the guy's chest, causing him to collapse as Naruto moved and grabbed him by the face as he smashed the guy's face through a tree and another before he smashed the guy's head on a boulder. As the impact caused it to explode, covering Naruto in even more blood as he turned, the other two arriving. They were shocked beyond disbelief, the boss not expecting this. What the hell is this kid? He quickly went through handstand as suddenly the earth on the ground started to shift and cover his body, giving him extra protection. The one in front of him pulled the kunai as Naruto moved. He thrust the kunai but Naruto dodged, as he could see the guy still thrusting forward. He then slammed his fist into the guy's nose, shattering it completely. The guy turned the kunai and swiped it, tearing through Naruto's shirt, carving a line across Naruto's stomach. It was bleeding, but it was like the kunai was not strong enough to go fully deeper down, but it did draw blood. That is when the other one created a mallet from stone and slammed it upside Naruto's head. Naruto's body slammed into the ground. The guy did not stop as he drove it down once again, slamming Naruto's head into the ground with critical force. As Naruto kept on pulling back up, "Why won't you die, you freak?" He drove it back down, bam! The ground shattered, as the guy was using a tremendous amount of his chakra. The force that he was sending down was ridiculous, and yet Naruto's hand reached up and stopped it, shocking the leader. Naruto then pushed it away and drove his fist right in the guy's face, knocking him away. The other one was about to stab him in the back, but Naruto turned and his heat vision activated and tore the guy apart. He literally was sliced, bisected through the stomach because Naruto had continued to turn his head. The leader saw this. His nose was bleeding, so was his mouth. He was shocked. He was afraid. This kid, no, this monster. He had to run. He had to get out of here. He turned and he rushed off, dropping the mallet as he did. As Naruto saw him running away, he leaped up in the sky. As he pushed forward, it felt like he was flying. But he was not in a state to hear about that right now. All he wanted was for them to pay. The guy turned as he did not see the kid until he felt something smack into his back. Both of Naruto's fists collided with his spine. A cracking sound could be heard as Naruto drove in with every force he had in his body. The guy's body bent backwards. He collapsed in utter pain, but Naruto did not stop as he flipped him over. The guy was screaming out as Naruto sat on his stomach. "How dare you try to hurt my sister!" Rage overtook him as he slammed his fist in the guy's face. And again, and again, and again. Several ninjas from the village, 2 chunins and 3 jonins arrived after seeing the young girl running out and screaming for help. When they arrived, they saw blood and bodies everywhere. They heard thumping and thumping and thumping. They arrived as they were shocked. The entire area was destroyed as Naruto's fist kept on sending tremors into the earth. As he destroyed this entire section, he squashed the guy's head completely until his entire body was covered in blood. He snapped his head towards them, his eyes glowing red. He was quite an intimidating scene despite being so young. "Relax, we're here to help," the Jonin said, stepping forward. "We're not here to harm you." "Calm down," he said, seeing that the kid was angry. But how could a kid do all of this? This was just insane. The root ninja, who had been there to watch, majority of that had fled. In shock, absolute shock, as he couldn't believe what he just saw. Minato arrived on the scene. As he was alerted, his speed bringing him out here in record time. "Naruto," he shouted, rushing towards his son. Naruto started to calm down his eyes, returning back to normal. He looked down towards his body that was covered in blood. His mind could not handle what just happened. After calming down, he fainted as Minato caught him before he could fall. Minato looking at the bloody scene as he got covered in blood as well. Meanwhile, that was happening a far, far, far distance away from the elemental nation. Away from this planet, standing in space, was a man. This man had dark hair. He had a mustache, a red cape with a fur at the neckline. As he looked down where the planet once was, he spat in disgust and anger. "Damn Kryptonians," he said. He was basically talking to himself. "Our scouters picked up that you sent something away before your planet destruction. More than one. And I know that one of those things are my son. And I will find him. You thought you could keep him away from me. I breeded the perfect soldier, and I will find him. And he will join the Viltrumite Empire at my side. Know this, woman. All of your efforts to keep my son away has failed. I will send my army to scour all these planets until he's found and brought home. Your efforts have failed. Do you hear me? He said, as he stood proudly, the leader of the Viltrumites, a powerful race that conquer planets. His name was Thrag, and he was looking for his son, the half kryptonian and the half Viltrumite. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.